Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Hagan. I am the CEO of a small, medium-sized tech company in Silicon Valley. Previously, I was a financial analyst and a financial journalist. I'd like to speak to you this evening regarding the Syria matter. I've been forced into action to comment about this after listening to the PBS News Hour today, where Brooks grudgingly conceded that after lobbing a few missiles at Syria, we should consult with Congress. That might perhaps be appropriate. And Mr. Shields blubbered that we should consult with Congress after this shocking atrocity, but we should consult with them first. So that was the difference in their view. Bomb them before we consult with Congress, or bomb them after. And we should at least have the same deal we had as when we went into Iraq. So in '91. So these guys are basically debating the technicalities of a warfare policy. And of course, the huge question is, where is the evidence that it was the government that used this gas? Where is the evidence? Because with extraordinary claims, it requires extraordinary evidence. And these are very serious charges. You cannot start bombing somebody on suspicion and to take your word at it, to commit mass murder and begin the absolute new phase and escalation of the instability in Syria. So what we see is the behemoth of globalized supercapitalism snacking here and there on destabilized areas, because these destabilized areas ultimately can be filled with the void of corrupt people that the super capitalists can make deals with to keep strong in their countries. And once the super capitalists are entrenched in their countries, it's very difficult to take them out. So for a variety of reasons, one of them is to seduce populations. In some cases, other ones are repressed. But in the Middle East, of course, they're not exactly seduced by all the luxuries they're getting at all. So this beast is feasting on unstable northern Africa, which it's created through its illegal regime change in Libya under the pretext of a no-fly zone. And exactly the same media narrative playbook is being played out as it was played in Libya. I will do a second piece that goes into that in more detail. So why has the PBS News Hour journalists betrayed us? Why are they doing this to the American people? To provide this narrow, nuanced perspective between Barack Obama and John Boehner. Two indistinguishable, feeble holes of the establishment constellation. So at any rate, in the case of Syria, these extraordinary claims don't make any sense because the government has no interest in being bombed with cruise missiles, which is what gas would obtain for them, other than perhaps securing one neighborhood briefly and 100 enemy dead in a war that's killed 100,000, and some terror effectiveness, but certainly not on the day that weapons inspectors arrive to see whether sarin gas is being used. This is the most absurd set of circumstances to not question the basis of these claims. And it's quite shocking that the people who run these disinformation games can use such similar script. So what's going on here is the U.S. is destroying its long-term competitiveness by investing too much of our economy into an oligarchy and their armies. So we invest in this oligarchy by increasing percentage of GDP on banking from 2% in the 1950s to 8% now. Banking, which largely produces nothing. It could all be done with local co-ops who would take a virtually indistinguishable amount of our economy to finance if we had the sense to put our money in local co-op banks. Then, secondly, there's a siphoning off by big business through favorable intellectual property laws. In an ideal world, there would be no intellectual property laws. You would use everything that was discovered as soon as possible. Nobody would want to hide anything, as we're all trying to create the best civilization possible, not hide stuff and extract stuff from each other, but collectively move forward faster. Imagine if there were no trade secrets in the future, because for me to win, you don't have to lose. That also has to do with people changing their mindset about what the goals are. We have to move the goalposts away from simple accumulation and to achievement. Achievement as a civilization and as a citizenry. It is really shocking that they can. So the American competitiveness is harmed by the siphoning off through profits in these two areas. In our medical area, we pay almost twice as much as any other country for our medical services of like kind. In some cases, 10 times as much. It's a game that has been played on us, and it takes $1 in every $5 or $6 out of our pockets. And frankly, we should be spending very little on medicine if we were properly healthy, responsible people. 1 or 2%, if you're fortunate enough to be a healthy person, and maybe 3% for a woman because of her added complexity. But the next area here is the war on drugs and war on terror. This system, it creates a series of unstable states. And in my view, these unstable states can be left in this state and filled with super capitalist entities. So it's different from an armed and aroused opposition. So what is the armed and aroused opposition? Basically, countries that don't buy the majority of their weapons from the United States are more likely to be somewhat less beholden to American interests or maybe pulled off in disputes. Russia, China do not buy a majority of American weapons. India is fairly distributed who it buys from, because if you get cut off of supply on a particular weapon system, you can have trouble, and sometimes there's only 1 or 2 powers that supply certain weapon systems. So if you buy from several different powers, if one power cuts you off, you aren't immobilized. You just lose some of your capabilities on certain types of weapon systems. The point of the Syria invasion is it's some sort of a partition of Syria politically along the lines of the monarchist Gulf states, which we sold more weapons to than all other countries in the history of the United States over the early Obama administration, about $200 billion worth of weapons to Qatar and Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, and now we're using them as a proxy to fund these right-wing attacks. So Libya was a socialist country. So is Syria, as well as the fact that Syria is Shia. So it's 2 strikes. For the global supercapitalists, they can only gain by shutting down a socialist country. And for the conservatives, the Shia, these are Sunni conservatives, and the Shia are their enemy, and these very ideological types especially. My name is Alexander Hagen. It's terrible to see all the same mechanics trotted out. Hopefully the citizenry will be vigilant. Please email your congressman, blog about it, post about it, yell about it. Throw a brick within the confines of decorum. My name is Alexander Hagen. Good night and good luck.